How's it going, everybody? Cable Guy Ken here for you this morning. Just got a few things I'm going to show you real quick. One of the brothers on Dave's Facebook page had talked about the difference between the S2 and the 840 Mora. I've got the 840 MG here. It's a carbon steel blade. I put a little patina on it. Of course, it comes with the plastic sheath. It's got the rubber grip handles. I was telling them this one really works better, in my opinion, for wet work because of that grip you get from the rubber. And it is carbon steel, and it has a good sharp back on it for striking on a ferro rod. The S2, and this is actually the SL2, but to the best of my knowledge, the only difference is the S2 comes with the red lacquered handles. The SL2 comes with the plain handle. But other than that, they're the same knife. Of course, this is a laminated steel blade, so this is a stainless steel over a carbon steel. The back of it is really rounded off here, so you don't get much of a spark off of a ferro rod. You really need to file that down if you're going to try to do sparks with it. But you can see the blades just a little bit longer on the S2 or the SL2 than the 840, but both are definitely serviceable. They both fit in your hand really well. And I'm just going to baton a little wood here real quick just to show you. I mean, you're not going to do big wood with this, but for the stuff like I'm going to be doing here, for the little stove that I was working on, it'll work just fine. You can see it goes through it pretty good. One little quick whack took that one. So you can see the 840 does a fairly good job. The S2 is just a little bit bigger, about the same thickness. I've got a piece of wood here that wants to roll around on me. I really need to invest in a good stump to bring out here and use for my batoning. It seems like every time I do a video for y'all, I have trouble finding something to split wood on. You can see it works fairly well, y'all. Let me get a little bit more of this split up and get me some kindling, and I'll be back with you here in a minute, and I'll show you the little stove I was working on for a little shelter. Alright? Alright, fellas, I got my little project I was working on. As y'all can see, this is a Heineken keg. I got this from a guy that I worked with back when I worked with Time Warner Cable. I don't drink beer, so you know, I don't have access to stuff like this unless somebody gives it to me, and he had saved it for a long time, and then I finally talked him into giving it to me. I've got the piece that I cut out here, and I don't have this rounded off or anything yet. I will be rounding this off, but the piece I cut out, I'm going to put me a hinge on here, put a little piece of reinforcement around this so that I can put the door back on and seal this off. That way it'll you know, give off more radiant heat. I do have air holes drilled down in here, so it should get sufficient air to keep burning. I've got a hole here at the top that should be the same size as a tomato juice can, so I can make me a little chimney to go on top of it and divert the smoke, most of the smoke anyway, out of my shelter. I've got some cotton ball in there with snow seal on it right now. I found it makes a pretty good little tinder, good fire starter. So let me get that in there, get my steel. Now, there's still some beer and water in there where I rinsed it out. Got a little bit of moisture in there, but it shouldn't be that big of a deal. Try to get some of this wood to just rest up on that door there for right now. Get it going. I said this wood's still a little green. It ain't real dry. And of course, this is a little bit of young pine wood here. You can see the gold in the middle where a little bit of the resin is. So it should burn right good. Of course, it'll soot up the inside of it, but it's alright. I just want to get a burn on it to see how my air holes are going to do. Make sure they're going to give enough air in. I've got, what, maybe 9-10 half-inch holes around the bottom of it. And this is fairly thick aluminum. It cut easy enough, but I mean, it's still fairly thick. I actually just cut that out with an old knife. You know, just jabbed it in and worked it around. But you can see a lot of the smoke's coming out of the door, but there's a good bit of smoke coming out of that little chimney hole on top. So even without a chimney, you can still, you know, have you an opening in your shelter right over this. Most of the smoke's going to go out of it, but your heat's going to be contained inside this aluminum can, and it's going to radiate that heat out pretty good. Looks like the fire's taking pretty good. I was hoping that it was going to be big enough that you could still set like a small, like a GSI cup or something on top of this, and you could use the radiant heat from this to heat your mug. That way you could still, you know, do some water on it if you needed to. But it's not going to be quite that big, but the opening of the door is big enough that once you've got your fire going pretty good, you could set your cup inside of the unit itself and heat some water up if you had to, if you wanted to conserve fuel and do it kind of a, you know, multi-use item. And said, I know that pine is going to soot the inside of it up a little bit more than the oak or the hickory that I've got wood, but I'm not worried about soot so much as I just want to burn it, get all the moisture out of it, and see how well it's going to hold up to the heating. I know the little tiny pots do pretty good at boiling water and stuff, but I've never seen anybody build a fire inside of one. It looks like it's going to go pretty good. I might get me some mesh, like 1/4-inch mesh, and build me a little shelf that goes just above my little holes down here at the bottom, and that'll give me a little bit more airflow. If I've got the wood sitting off the ground here, it'll give a spot for the air to come in and a place for the ashes to settle as well. Keep the wood up off of the ground so it gets better airflow, but it don't look like it's doing too bad, and there's already a good bit of heat coming off of the sides of it. And like I said, once we get that the door put on it, all the heat will be contained inside the drum, so it'll radiate out a good bit more. So that's just where I'm at right now. As you can see the little holes around there, and then the hole on the top that I've got there. I said that's about the size of a small tomato juice can. So that's where we're at. Cable Guy Ken. Appreciate everybody watching.